0, and liftoff.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Mission Control. This is your host, Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands. We've got an excited episode on tap for you. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Hiram Gandia Torres, owner of Pillar Solutions.
Thank you so much.
Did I say that right?
You said that, man, spot on. I got so scared. I thought my mama was calling me. I was like, oh, man.
Well, wait, there's more. We've also got to introduce Jorge Peso Candelario.
How's it going, everybody? It's so glad to be here. This should be an exciting episode. A lot of great information for you guys today.
Yes. And Jorge is our director of web development here at Peralta Design. But we're excited to have you, Hiram. We met through the CBNA. So shout out to Cesar.
That's right.
Barrios, the founder of CBNA, Connecticut Business Networking Association. And I've just seen you. I've been impressed by you. I've just been seeing you like take the stage and just kind of, grow. And now we're doing business together.
That's right.
Our companies are mutually hiring each other, which is awesome. We're working on your branding, and we just completed that. You're doing our benefits.
Absolutely.
And you are a principal benefits specialist. Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk about something that you brought up that's very interesting to me, and that is the difference between selling and serving.
Absolutely.
And how do you go about building an ethical business?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, first of all, it's an absolute pleasure being here, Ramon and Jorge. Ramon, I say this to you all the time. I find you as like just a pillar of our community, somebody who I see as a mentor, a colleague, and it's truly an honor to be here. So I thank you for the opportunity. Welcome. So, man, where to even start? There is a fine line between selling and serving. And what I mean by that is when we look at industries like the insurance industry, my gosh, are you going to find a lot of salespeople? It's very sad to say that the bad thing with insurance in this industry is that confusion is the thing that gets exploited the most. So what do I mean by that is, I started in Medicare, for example. So in Medicare, you find a lot of Spanish-speaking seniors or just seniors in general that don't even know how to do a Medicare application, right? So very naturally, they fall into Medicare scams, identity theft, fraud, paying premiums for something that actually shouldn't have a premium price, different little things like that. So where we come in and what I've been trying to build with Pillar Solutions is to be that differentiator. I'm a Puerto Rican, first-generation college student, first-generation business owner, no blueprint, no backup, and my first language was Spanish.
And the stereotype is Latinos don't have insurance.
Right. Oh, listen, we're going to get into it at some point, but sometimes they have it and they don't even use it or they don't know how to use it. And I have a great story for you that I'll share later. But eventually what it comes down to this is that what Pillar Solutions is trying to do now is really combat all that exploitation there is of confusion. Yeah. We're trying to look out for the little guy, the middle guys, and now even the large guys. And we have, because even the large guys, believe it or not, they struggle with some of these things. So our foundation really is around education and doing things the right way and in the ethical way.
Right. So serving, I feel like anybody can whack somebody over the head and like get them to sign something once.
Absolutely.
But it's that return customer, it's the renewal customer, it's the referral type customer. So when you're serving, sounds to me like, you mentioned this before, was trust is the product. And you're in an industry that folks are scarred. I mean, you're probably dealing with folks that have PTSD from insurance, and they like, how do you win their trust when they meet you?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's a few things, and I'd be remiss if I don't mention this, but this is just some mind-blowing statistics. So I'm a big numbers guy. Right now, about 82% of health brokers like myself are looking to retire, sell their business. And when we look in there into the data, what's happening, you have some companies or some of these brokers perhaps are just letting their renewals ride, right? So they're providing little to no service, or they're looking to sell their books to like giant conglomerates like Gallagher or whomever, right? But they may be too small to sell. right? So there's all these stuff happening within the industry now where unfortunately the ones who are at the receiving end of the negative effects is the client and the consumer. So what we try to do is we have put in some frameworks that once we get into the story portion, you'll see where we got it from. But essentially, we try to prioritize service as much as possible, meaning we're not just the type of agency that enrolls you into an insurance plan and says goodbye. We actually have it within our practice to follow up with clients. We have personal lines where they can reach their assigned account manager if they have any questions. We're actually one of the few insurance brokerages that actually helps with claim issues, meaning if you go to the doctor, for example, and something happened with your insurance or didn't cover, etc., you can actually call us. And it's not a 800 number that you're like waiting, trying to speak to somebody. You'll actually either speak with me directly, one of our account managers, and we help you on the spot. So we built that trust, and it's so funny because we have a giant population of seniors, and I'm the type where we do events and we drink our cafecitos. We're, eating our quesitos because I have a lot of Puerto Rican clients, and let me tell you, they don't play around when it comes to like flan, all the different stuff, man. The amount of treats I've
They're
had.
judges.
Yeah.
Of those, they
listen.
can tell. Is this legit or?
Yeah. So
you love to hear it because it's such a difference maker too. Like culturally, this is
Big
like
time.
you know what I mean? How it produces this level of comfort, trust.
Big time.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So even more so, like we're really just trying to be that helpful neighbor, right? We're trying to be that helpful neighbor where we're trying to do things ethically from a point of like, okay, we're not just writing you up for a policy. Now we're actually in this partnership where we're growing together. You're a part of our family, right? And we just try to be as involved as possible. We send all our clients, like on their birthday, we send them like birthday cards, right? We do holidays cards as well. They always get the updates because it's hilarious. I always send a picture of myself, my wife, and our dog. And it's so funny how some of our conversation starts with, how's the wife? How's the dog? And then nobody asks me how I'm doing. But they ask me about the wife and the dog, But it's like, that's just the type of rapport that we continue to build. And I think there's very few that go to that extent with their clients. It's kind of sad to see, but that's how at least we try to make it a little bit different here with Pillar.
Excellent. Well, when we come back, we're going to learn all about how you started this business, how you got into it. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the branding a little bit, what the name means, where it came from.
Big time.
And we'll learn all about that when we come back.
Great.
At Peralta Design, social causes are very important to us. One of our trusted community partners and clients is Catalyst CT. Catalyst CT believes in social change that creates a lasting impact on community well-being. Catalyst CT tackles the tough issues that youth, families, and communities often face by preventing street violence, mediating and resolving conflict, improving school climate, boosting mental health, and planting the seeds for a healthy, safe, and restorative life. For more information on Catalyst CT, visit catalystct.org.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
Launch ratings.
And we're back. Please join me once again in welcoming Hiram Gandia Torres, owner of Pillar Solutions. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Man, you hyped me up so much. How you say my name, I feel like I'm about to enter this wrestling event, about to rip off the suit, be like, yeah.
Let's get ready to rumble.
That's right. New heavyweight champion over here.
Let's get it on.
I love it.
Here we go. So, man, listen, the first segment was on point. You really highlighted, what's different about your firm. In an industry, it's much like used car salesman. Like you walk in, you just know. You just know you're going to get hit. And it's like, who do you go to? Who's your mechanic? Somebody you trust.
Absolutely.
Because, you go into these places and you're like, man, I'm bringing it in for oil change. I just know they're going to find something else and or loosening up something. How many times have we gone and then when you leave, your car was fine. Then you leave.
Right.
And then you have this sneaky suspicion that, man, how can I prove that they loosened a hose or they did something? This lack of trust, and we're at the mercy of these service providers.
Absolutely.
Sometimes because we don't know any better or we don't have a recommendation. And how oftentimes do you ask your friend, do you know a good mechanic? You're desperately looking for someone to trust. And insurance is unfortunately either people don't have it or they have it, but it's too expensive, or they they feel like they're getting ripped off. They're paying too much. How many times have you had it? Called another place, and then it's been like a dramatic difference in price.
I don't really understand about the industry. I'd love to know more about how I'm asking for the same amount of coverage.
Yeah,
the same, you know what I mean? The numbers all line up. It's still the same item, and it's exponentially different sometimes.
Big time.
Double, triple. You know, like, and the rep on the phone is just like, oh, we can offer you yada, yada, yada.
Yeah,
I'm like, that is double plus what I'm currently
what are you
paying.
doing?
What are you talking about? Like, how does that happen?
Man, I hear it in both of y'all's voice. I'm like, man, should I get another job? I'm like, you hiring Ramon? I'm like, man. Honestly, to make it simple, and honestly for the listening audience too, I always have one thing, and that is, it can be Pillar Solutions. It could be anybody. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, if you walk in and you're talking to some sort of insurance rep, whether agent, broker, captive agent, doesn't matter. If you're walking out of that room more confused than when you came in, that's a red flag.
Right.
If you do not know the name of that person that you spoke to and you've only met them once, that's a red flag, right? Those are the little things, right? And it goes back to what we were saying. Trust is truly the product. And we were just kind of talking this during the break. And in this industry, there's always going to be, because I mean, when you look at it as brokers, we are basically an extension of what's going on with the bigger insurance companies, right? Like those are the products that we're enrolling people on. And there are some out there that give certain incentives for certain things. But here's the thing though, I'm somebody that, and I'm sure we're going to get into this a little bit, but I'm a first generation, like your traditional story, came from nothing. So when I decided to build Pillar, we decided we need to do things the right way, and we're not pursuing incentives. What we're actually pursuing is what is right for the client that's sitting right in front of me. I've made some decisions that actually have not made me any money, but guess what? The client went away with what they actually needed. And that's a reputation we've been trying to build. My philosophy is like, you do the right thing, there's a God that's watching over us, and you know, the money will come later. And if no money comes, there's gonna be just that satisfaction and that blessing of like, I just helped somebody and their life is positively impacted because of the work that we did together. So yeah, that's definitely one of the things as far as like the products, why things cost. I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't know. No, I have my assumptions, and unfortunately we can't serve two masters. And unfortunately one of those masters, right, we have God and we have money. And unfortunately in some industries, money is a big influence, man. It's a big tool that, you know, is needed, is useful. But the love of money, that's what gets a lot of people to do a lot of unethical things. And unfortunately, we see that in everything, right? Not just in insurance. You see it in all sorts of industries, left and right. I mean, we live in some really hard times. But that being said, though, as it relates to business cost containment, cost savings, that's what I specialize in. I'm always trying to find what are the ways to optimize, you know, the insurance coverage, or making sure that your group, your individual, or your Medicare client is receiving the uttermost in their benefits, but keep that cost down, either reduce or at the very least contain it. And there's plenty of strategies that I'm sure we'll get into at some point that we do, because we support our businesses holistically. We're not just an insurance brokerage. Now we have partnerships with financial advisors, payroll companies, you name it, we have it. And if we don't have it, we will find it, because we're just trying to elevate the workforce here.
Yeah. So how did you, you know, take me back, young Hiram? What was he?
Yeah.
One day you just said, I want to do insurance, or like, what did you?
Oh no.
what was your original plan, and how did you end up doing this?
That's a fantastic question. I'm gonna do my best to keep it, you know, aligned and give you the best chronological, because I'm the type of person where I've been working since I was 11 years old. And the first job that I had was collecting cans with my grandfather. We were literally just going around picking up cans.
That tracks with Latinos. I mean,
listen, man.
Some of the hardest work.
I thought, and you know what's so funny? At 11 years old, I remember the first time we brought in cans, and I worked so hard, and I had like 3 trash bags filled to the brim of cans, and I got like $3. And I just remember like I did all of that, and all I got was $3. And Grandpa was trying to like educate me and everything, and I was just like, but this, how can this be? Like I couldn't fathom. No way, right? But man, God bless my grandfather. I love him so much, and that's one of the things that first exposed me to this world of entrepreneurship and like having a business. You know, the $3 story was tough. But the upside to that story was that we just continued on. He continued to encourage me. And at the time, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but that's when the first ever PlayStation Portable came out, the PSP. And I was just like, I really want to get one of those. I'm like an 11-year-old kid. I'm like, I'm going to go. And my parents were like, we ain't got money for that. You're going to have to save your own money. And I was like, no problem. I was like in the parks every day. I was in school, putting cans in my free money. I went intense. And in a matter of a couple of months, I raised, I think I remember the exact price. It was $175 that the thing cost. I raised about $200. Now, I will say, though, they took me to get the PSP. When I paid, I did cry a little bit because I was like, I just worked so hard for this $175. And I just went, man.
You know what? You took care of that PSP.
Oh, listen,
sure.
that thing, I still have it somewhere. I'm sure I still have it somewhere because that thing went with me everywhere. It was just like, yeah. So that's how things actually started. But, I wish that was, I like to recall that, but my story gets a little bit darker. When I was 14 years old, very sadly, I had my sister committed suicide. Fortunately, she died young at 32 years old. She was somebody that, we were close to a certain degree, but she was the entrepreneurial one. She had different businesses. She had just an incredible business acumen. Sometimes people wonder, why are you so entrepreneurial? Where do you get this business? And I credit a lot to, maybe my sister and I didn't have the relationship I wish we would have had, but there was a link there, some sort, and I remember all the times we spent together, and I would ask her questions about, what are you doing for her? I was always confused because she was always having a different job. And then I come to realize, and my dad told me, it was like, no, she just owned all these multiple small businesses, and that's what she was doing. So I do remember, like, I was 14 years old when that happened, and in her funeral, I just remember making her a promise that I really wanted to make her proud and build a legacy that, our name, Gandia Torres, was going to be known. And that's something that I carried with me throughout school. In school, I had a lot of hardship as well. I was not your popular kid. I was a kid from Puerto Rico. We came here when I was maybe like 11 years old, something like that. And, English was a big barrier for me. Fortunately, did undergo a lot of bullying in school. Middle school didn't get any better. High school even worse. I was a kid that was always getting rejected, all this different stuff, right? All the little heartbreaks and all those different things. So I always was tough for me to find my place, basically. I was an athlete, but I wasn't the best athlete. So it was one of those things where at least that kind of threw me a bone a little bit. And I made some friends towards the end of high school, graduated, and then through some student support programs that I would do after school, found myself going to college. And going to college was probably the biggest, I guess you can say, how superheroes always have that origin story, right? For a moment, I thought I was going to turn into a supervillain because
this is how villains are born.
Because it's one of those things where, you
could have gone either way.
Yeah, listen, I could have, because I was drinking the Kool-Aid, man, of higher education. I was just like, whoa, they're telling me I can go to college and, I'm going to have like a future and make more money, and just to give you a little bit of background, when we came here, we had nothing. We had absolutely nothing. We bounced around houses. Thankfully, we had some family members that were here that opened their door for us. But for a while there, we didn't think we were going to make it. And it was one of those things where the first apartment we had was this basement that was definitely not up to code. I remember playing with my brother, and we would poke holes on the side of the wall. And then my dad would be like, what are you doing? And I thought I was savvy. I would put like paper towels in between the holes and everything, thinking he's not going to see it because it's white, right? And he was like, this is a nap. Like, it was just wild thinking back and to those times. And I remember he got this tiny little Ford that he bought for like $200. It was like the first car he got. That thing had tires probably that were like 5-10 years old. I don't know. By the grace of God, that car got us everywhere. He was a mechanic by trade. He always like fixed it, did all that stuff. That thing ran with us for forever. But I was like, never drop me off in school though. That was the thing. It's already bad enough. Let me walk. Like drop me here.
Off a couple blocks away.
Yeah.
Come on, Dad. But sometimes your dad will be like, I'm bringing you right to the front.
Yeah,
builds character.
And he did, and it indeed built character, because right now you're gonna meet me. I mean, people who know me know this about me, and it's hilarious. I think cars are the worst investment you can make, bro. It's like a depreciating asset.
The moment you drive it off the lot.
Yeah, the moment you drive it off the lot, man, I can't even fathom a car payment. And that's part of my story, because when I was in college, I did accrue a lot of debt, and I had about almost $90,000 in debt by the time I was 19. And a lot of that came with, I went to college. I didn't know much about college as a first-gen student, but I got a ton of scholarships to this private college, which I'm proud I went there, College of the Holy Cross. Shout out Crusaders, right? It was a great experience, but the problem with a private institution is they can increase prices whenever they want, right? Federal aid necessarily didn't go up along with it. So first year I was all set. Second year I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get a job somewhere. And I did. And what ended up happening is, and this is where we get to the origin story where I almost turned into a villain, because the job that I ended up getting, I was pursuing like high wage and actually benefits as well. And I ended up working at UPS. So my days starting my sophomore year of college, I would clock in at 2 a.m. in the morning, pack trucks until 9 a.m. And then my first class was at 10 a.m. until like 3 or 2 o'clock. And I would just do that and repeat. Shout out to my college roommate, Ty Bramer. Brother, I love you so much, because I don't know how this dude bared with me, because I would be getting up in the middle of the night and I'm like trying not to disturb him. But I'm sure I see him on Facebook all the time. He's doing great things, and I'm proud of you, bud, and thank you. But essentially, I did that for a while. And there was this one day, one shift. I remember it clearly. It was a Tuesday, and it was like 3 a.m., 1 hour into my shift. There was these giant crates where we would pull the packets out of and then just stuff them in the truck. So it was like the assembly line, the crates, and then the trucks were right there. So it was about like maybe like a 4 feet gap. So just take the package, turn around, put them in. Somebody did something they were not supposed to do, and they put about 120-pound package. I still even remember the weight, because I remember the sticker. It haunts me to this day. They put it on the top shelf, which they were not supposed to. So, you get into a rhythm. I got my headphones on. I'm trying to do stuff. I see this package. I pulled it. When I pulled it, the package falls on me, and I throw it on my back. And I was only 19 years old. And I remember, like, the package fell into the truck. There's cameras everywhere. So I'm like, if you drop something, right, you're technically responsible for all this different stuff. So I did my best to crawl into the truck. I just kind of adjusted, put at the bottom of the truck like we would put the big packages on. And this is where it all happened. Like, my back was hurting. I was on the floor of this truck. At this time, I sneaked into the truck. So I'm, like, laying on the truck, and I'm like, I just need 5 minutes. Ramon, I can't. Jorge, I don't know what came over me. I just remember weeping. I've cried before, and actually it reminded me, like, when I wept at my sister's funeral, it was the same type of weeping and then some, because I was just like, how did I get myself into this situation? Right. That's what just kept going around my mind, was how did I get myself into this situation? I thought, you see all the movies, whoa, you got the college acceptance, right? Everything's going to be fine. And I was like, I was a kid that, like, despite everything, despite growing up in a rough neighborhood, right? I try to make the right decisions, right? I, thank God, maybe it was a blessing in disguise that I went through bullying and all that, because it kept me away from wrong crowds. One of my best friends, very sadly, passed away, was killed at the age of 23. So I was like, that could have been me as well if I kept rolling with those crowds, right? So that being said, though, I was in that truck and I was still questioning, though. And then I said, why me and why this? And I just remember weeping and weeping and weeping. And then about like 10 minutes of that in, 15 minutes of that in, I felt like something came over me. And to this day, I still believe it was the presence of God in that moment. Grace. God's grace, because I definitely did a prayer that day. And I remember saying, like, God, please liberate me from this. I don't know what I need to do, but my life can't be this. It needs to be different. Did that, felt comfort inside in my spirit, in my heart. And what I decided to do, took my belt, tying it as tight as possible to just support my back. And I finished the shift. So it was 3 a.m. I clocked out at 9. And then when I walked out of that shift, I skipped class that week, like for 3 days. And what I did was I went to the library and I picked up this book about operations management. And I started working on my resume. And I am so sorry if you're watching this, my former supervisor, Russ, kind of put in a couple extra bullet points that shouldn't have been in my resume, but I put it in there and I sent this resume I literally just put it on his desk. I didn't even email it to him. About a week or so later, he goes, I see your resume. I want to give you a shot. You're going to now be a part-time supervisor for operations. And I saw the camera. I saw that this happened with the package. You were not at fault. You're not responsible for that. But I'm going to give you a shot. At the age of 19, I was one of the youngest supervisors for UPS in this particular location. We started breaking records, like assembly line usually take their time, and then trucks were leaving at 10 or whatever. We were wrapped up by 9 like it was supposed to be, and it just continued to flow. Then to just kind of cut the story short, I decided to be intentional because I mentioned I had all this debt. And I had to figure out what I actually wanted to do with this college degree. I followed a lot of friends. I had all these different majors, joined all these clubs, and all it did was burn me out. So then practically I started to think, what is the job that's going to hire me on the spot? And at the time, there was a shortage of teachers in the area. So then I decided, you know what? I know Spanish. I'm going to major in Spanish. I remember doing a community service event where I was like tutoring kids and things like that. It was a whole course. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to be a teacher. So then signed up for the teacher enrollment program that would guarantee me a license without a master's degree, because you got to get a master's to teach. Then just went to work and did that and became a teacher. Unfortunately decided to quit UPS, but this is where we got into the man, should I quit this job? Because I got really good benefits and really good pay, right? So for those folks out there who own a business, retention strategies, offer your employees some benefits, man. You will retain them, let me tell you. So then I decided I quit, and then I decided to be more intentional about paying off my debt, and being more targeted with the jobs that I was having. So I started working in schools, doing all of that, and then just got to work and started paying off debt. By the time I graduated college, my first professional teaching year, paid off all of my debt. So I had graduated with still about 30 to 40 grand in student loans, and in about a year and a half, paid it all off. I was driving around a beater, had a pretty decent apartment, but it was tiny, it was cheap, and it was not in a good area. Barely got any groceries, which my girlfriend, now wife at the time, was like, do you even eat? Because she would look at my fridge, and I had like a gallon of milk and maybe like a couple pieces of bread or whatever. But I just got intentional, and I was like, I need to get out of this situation, and if I can gain my financial freedom, I know I'll have enough to be able to start investing, to be able to start doing this, to start doing that. And then the thought came back from the operations manuals that I was reading, all that. It's like, I want to have my own business. I don't know in what, but I want to have my own business. So essentially, I became a teacher, and I was like, summers off, afternoons off, right? Business time. So the first business that I decided to start was actually a fitness one, because I was a CrossFit coach for a while. I was still an athlete, loved doing that, but very quickly fell into imposter syndrome. And I was like, well, I'm a good athlete, but I'm not an elite athlete. So why are these people even wanting to train with me, right? I'm not your typical athlete. I had like the big powerlifting gut, and all this different stuff. Like I can lift a lot of weight, but I don't look like an elite athlete. So I feel like in my psychosis in my mind, that just caused me to crash, and that was a failed business. Yeah. From there, I decided, you know what? Started looking around, and faith is something that's really important to me. And I was like, what are some reputable Christian companies that are out there? And I stumbled upon Chick-fil-A, because who doesn't love a good, original chicken sandwich deluxe, right? Picked up all the books, and then I said, it's actually the cheapest franchise to open. You do their leadership program, and then you have like I think it's like 10 grand investment or something like that, and you become an owner operator of a Chick-fil-A. So decided to do that. They have a very intensive interview process. At the time, I was maybe like, man, I was young. It was a while back. But essentially what ended up happening was I made it all the way to the end of the interview process. And at the very end, they told me, I'm sorry, we're not going to select you for the leadership program because you lack business experience. And I was just like, what? I was talking about my teaching experience. Man, I'm a good talker. And I was like, putting my teaching experience, I was like, my classroom is my business. And this is like what I do, all this different stuff. Made it all the way to the end. But in the final round, they were just like, you're just too young and don't have enough business experience. I got really depressed because I was a very intentional person. So throughout this interview process, I didn't have to do this, but I decided to. Was alongside teaching, I got a part-time job at a Chick-fil-A. So I was like taking people's orders, learning the business because I want to learn from the ground up. I bought every single Chick-fil-A book, which is actually where I developed the framework for Pillar Solutions because their whole key thing was simplicity. It was character. It was kindness. And if you ever go to Chick-fil-A, every time they give you an order,
God bless you.
They always go, my pleasure, right? My pleasure. Yeah. So, that's essentially what we decided to do. That didn't work out.
It's interesting that you say that and how that became a core part of your business. Because even in our professional relationship that comes out so clear. And that was something that gave me pause. The first time I ever went to even check out Chick-fil-A, I was like, what is this experience? Right. It was so different from any other fast food joint I've ever been to. It didn't even feel the same. You know what I mean? And to bring that same experience that gives you pause and recognizing that, but to the insurance industry?
We need to get to the transition to insurance and the name Pillar.
Absolutely. So essentially what ended up happening was I still wanted a business and my wife was working in insurance. I was depressed because of all the Chick-fil-A stuff, and she went to this event and told a representative from United Healthcare, my husband's a teacher, he speaks Spanish, and all she did was like tell him to give me a call. Gave him a call. They brought me out to a lunch, and actually that's where I met one of my very close mentors. Shout out to Ed Henrich. I owe this man so much. He's just an angel. So that being said, they started pitching me the idea of, you can start your own business in Medicare. And I was like, what even is Medicare? And then they started explaining to me, and I was like, wait a minute, I remember this because I remember helping family members with this issue and that. Because as a Spanish kid, I was the one that was always translating insurance claims and all this stuff. And I was like, I know this stuff and I can make a business out of this. You mean I was doing that for free from my parents? So that just got me started. And then I started in Medicare. Very quickly, when I started in Medicare, I started finding out that there was a lot of victims to identity fraud, identity theft, a lot of different scams, unethical people. Talk about, Spanish representation in this field. Sometimes it hurts me that even the Spanish ones are the ones that are doing the worst damage because I met a lot of these like Spanish brokers and et cetera, and they were just so much after the dollar and not about the service. And it was just like, what are you doing with your clientele? So then that started to grow, and then one client turned into another. Then at some point, my father-in-law, he is in group benefits for businesses and health insurance. And he was like, Hiram, I have a problem and I'd like to tag you. And I have this particular account that seems to have a lot of Spanish-speaking people. Can you just do an enrollment meeting? And basically what that means is like see who can enroll in the plan, exactly, all that different stuff. I went and I was like, okay, sounds good. I was only there for 3 days. In 3 days, we absolutely increased the value of that account simply because we spoke Spanish. We were able to introduce like what the plans were, etc., educate people on what it was. And some of these people came in thinking, I didn't even know this is what my company was offering. So then that just kind of turned the light bulb on, and I was like, oh man, now I need to get into group health insurance for businesses. And then we just kind of became that. Through my Medicare channels, I received a lead out of New York where it was a company that they didn't even know their name of their broker, and they had like an outrageous renewal percentage. It was like upward in the 40s. And we decided to take the case on, and when we did, we just did a comprehensive overview. We worked our channels. We worked with the insurance reps and got them a good deal. Ended up saving them over $50,000 on annual employee costs. And they looked at me like $50,000. I can hire a whole new person, basically. So then that just just continued to snowball. Word got around, and praise God, today we are in 9 different states. We actually just closed the deal this past week, so we're going to be in our 10th state. So our hope now is
you've been acquiring some other firms.
So that's actually another one too, because this is really interesting. I mentioned the 82% that are retiring. Now our phone is being called pretty much, once here and there, and is brokers looking to sell their business. So now we're growing through acquisition as well. And really, we're just in this trajectory of becoming the leading bilingual insurance brokerage, Puerto Rican owned, bilingually owned, a registered minority business actually. And we're looking to just continue to look out for the little guys, the mid guys, and even some of the large guys, because we have large accounts now.
The name Pillar, where'd you come from?
Absolutely. So my name is Hiram, and I'm somebody that faith is everything to me. From that origin story that I shared, that's when I knew where nobody else was coming, but at least I had the Lord in me. And through him, I can do all things. That's from Philippians 4:13. So that's something that's a core for me. So when you look at the Bible and we actually look deeper into the book of Kings and Corinthians, there was a king in the Bible named Hiram. And what he was known for was building pillars. So he was the one that built the pillar for the temple that Solomon got to build, which, if you know a little bit about theory there and theology is a very big significance. So for me, I was like, you know what? I want to do that. I want to build pillars in the lives of many people. My biggest thing is I love sharing the gospel with everything that I do. I love impacting people in a positive way. I think right now we live sometimes where even folks are even questioning, their church communities and everything, because there's a lot of sketchy stuff that happens. And I'm like, man, I can share the gospel without needing a pulpit. I can do it like this in a one-on-one setting and just truly, truly do meaningful work that can impact people. So that's the core value of Pillar Solutions. That's why the name Pillar. I know I kind of have to apologize to God on that one. I kind of stole his copyright there.
It was inspired.
It was expired. So essentially, that's where the name comes from. That is. The background on that, but it's something that we were very intentional with, because the reputation that we are building indeed is we want to be that trusted partner to many businesses and individuals, where you can definitely trust us, because what we're selling to you is just our trust, is our service.
Absolutely. Now, how can people find you, contact you?
Yeah.
Maybe share some of your handles and any other way that you want folks to reach out.
Absolutely. So very easy. Our website is pillarsolutionsgroup.com. This is a new URL. So I had to, with our phone number is 860-249-1498. And my email is very simple. It's just simply htorres@pillarinsurances with an S in the end.com. We have some really great stuff coming up. We have a golf tournament that we're collaborating on, Ramon. So any business owners listening, this is an invite for you. It will be an exclusive invitational, but we will have applications going out soon, and you'll get a letter from Ramon and myself saying if you've been accepted to that. It'll be an intimate gathering, but an intentional one, because I'm not about doing all grandiose stuff. I'm all about, doing things that are intimate and that care, all of that. And lastly, we're on LinkedIn. Ramon, you're helping me with all the socials, so I think that's something that we're looking forward to in the coming months. So I'm pretty reachable. You'll also find me in CBNA. I have to give a shout out to CBNA. I'm an annual sponsor along with Ramon, company that we're
new president. Too.
I know. The president, that's so funny. So I wish it was president of the country, but I am.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, right. Got to start somewhere. So definitely the Southington chapter of the Connecticut Business Network Association. Definitely a very fast growing chapter there, where we're literally focused on exactly everything we've been saying. Is how do we support your businesses holistically through referral partnerships, focused on return of investment, ROI, business growth. And what I'm going to be sprinkling into that chapter is some business consulting workshops as well, to equip those solo entrepreneurs, those groups that want to grow from 2 to 3 people to grow to a company of 30 employees. So we've worked with different accounts in that manner over the years. So that's definitely, we want to take that knowledge and bring it to everybody.
Excellent. I feel like you got one piece of advice on your heart that you could share with our community.
Big time. I'll keep this very short, but networking is a superpower, absolutely. And when you are in the room, you gotta know a couple things. You gotta know who you are in the room, and you also gotta recognize who's in the room. We've been in conversations where some can be very much door openers. It's so funny. I had a recent thing happen to me where somebody, I tried to give them a chance. This was the second time I met them, but they were like, oh no, I don't want to do business with a man. And that just kind of like took me back, and I was like, oh my goodness, like how do I even react to this? I cracked the joke as my defense mechanism, but it was one of those things when I approached this person, I actually had a referral for them that could have easily generated a high return of investment for them. So guess what I didn't do? I didn't give them the referral because I was like, if I'm treated like that, how would they treat clients, right? So those are the things that, recognize who's in the room, know who you are in the room, stay authentic to yourself, be honest, and always operate with integrity.
Excellent. Hiram, thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It was wonderful, and wish you all the best, and I look forward to getting out and chasing that little white ball.
I love it.
With
Likewise.
you at your event that's coming up.
Great. Thank you so much, Ramon.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is your host, Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands.